the storm. Jesus and his disciples, they want to decide, they want to go out across the Sea of Galilee. In those days, the M50 was the Sea of Galilee. You got into your boat and you made it in much quicker time than if you had to walk or find other forms of transport. So you get into your boat, cross the Sea of Galilee. All is calm, all is well. They set out. Experienced travelers, these men. They should know the signs of the weather. They've been fishermen all their lives. They should know if there's a storm coming, but they're perfectly confident. They all get into their boat, and somewhere halfway across, the wind starts to blow, the waves start to lash, the thunder starts to roar, and the poor disciples in the boat realize they're either going to die or they're going to be swept ashore. And in this panic, in this wild panic, they go to find Jesus, their new friend. They want to make sure, first of all, he's on the boat still, that he hasn't gone overboard. But having found him on the boat, they are absolutely amazed, disgusted, and somewhat perturbed to realize this man is fast asleep. This man is fast asleep at the back of the boat while all of this chaos and mayhem is taking place. They wake him up. They say, "Do you not realize we're in a storm here? Do you know, how can you sleep at a time like this?" Jesus gets up immediately, puts his hand in the air, says to the storm, "Be quiet. That's enough now. No more of that. Sit down, be quiet." And all of a sudden, this life-threatening storm that threatens the life of 13 people on board a boat stops immediately. And then there is that moment where the disciples, each one with their mouth hanging wide open, hear Jesus say these words, "Where is your faith? Where is your faith?" We hear that the disciples were frightened during the storm. They're now frightened again, because now they don't know who they have with them, what sort of a person this is, or what this man is capable of. And very soon, in the weeks and months that lie ahead for these disciples, they will gain more and more a picture of who they have with them. They get to the land of the Gerasenes. Now, I want you to know about the land of the Gerasenes. On the far side of the Sea of Galilee is the land of the Gerasenes, Gerasa, and it is Gentile country. It is outlaw country for Jewish people. It's not somewhere they choose to go unless they have to go, and if they have to go, they make their journeys as little and as infrequent as possible. So, they go to the land of the Gerasenes, and in the land of the Gerasenes, they just literally hit ground, and they meet another storm, a human storm, a man who is possessed, tortured, worn out, literally a shadow of a human being, wrecked by insanity, possession, and all sorts of other trouble. He comes up to Jesus and says, "Go away now, Jesus. Leave me in peace. I'm grand the way I am. I've got used to this. Storms are okay for me. I can deal with storms. I can live with storms. I can deal with a storm in my own head. Go away." And Jesus says, "No, not doing that. This storm is going to be solved in exactly the same way as the storm at sea. This man is healed. He's returned, if he ever had, to a state of sanity. And all those around him, we hear, are frightened." This whole gospel story is about people who are frightened. from the start to the finish. Those on the lake, those seeing the actions of Jesus, they're all frightened. And they're all frightened because they can't quite figure it out. They can't quite believe it. They can't quite trust it. They cannot have faith in it. But look what happens in an environment of faith. Look what happens when the storms come. Look what happens when the pain is real and God is invited into that, the worst of situations, and he brings his healing. Every month, and throughout a month, we have a dedicated number of intercessors in this parish whose act of love is to pray for those on the prayer list of this parish. And every month, every day of every month, each person takes onto their own heart the needs of people on their list and prays for them fervently. Once a month, and you may have actually been either present at these or you have seen them online, we gather together in this church to pray for those who are on that extended list and to leave them in the hands of God. But at the very heart of that activity, the very focus of that event, is that we trust that God hears our prayers. We trust in faith that God is with us, hears the callings of our hearts and the callings of people's own family hearts, and listens to those prayers and responds within those people's lives and returns them to a spirit and a place of wholeness. Not all those on our list will actually recover from the events that oppress them, but everyone on that list will experience God's healing and wholeness in the sense of peace, calm, and fulfillment. Their personal storms will be addressed through the prayers of the people of God. We are a faith community. So often the church is defined in that way. Often by people who don't understand us, by the way. We're described as faith communities. Sometimes it's actually used as a means of actually poking fun at us, of sometimes telling us that we don't understand, that really it doesn't work that way. Why should we put a trust in someone we cannot see, never experience, and never actually know? Well, we may not see him, but we certainly experience him. And we do know him. The very basis of this community of faith, and of all communities of faith, is a spirited trust in the one who calls us by our name. There are storms everywhere this morning. There may even be storms in your personal life this morning. I know there have been storms in mine. And I know that those storms at times rear their ugly heads, even when it seems as if they are past. But through it all, we put our trust in the one who holds our hand, who raises himself from the sleep of the boat, and who calms the storm, who restores a broken human being, broken beyond anything we can imagine, and returns him to wholeness of life. Can we trust ourselves this morning not to be frightened, but to be trusting in the one who makes all things possible? And if we do so, by trusting in that one person, Jesus Christ, we can find our lives transformed, renewed, and empowered every day. Where is your faith? Jesus says. He calls down through the centuries to us in this church on this Sunday morning. Where is our faith? And we respond to him in our sense of trust of the one who created us, brought us into life, and calls us by our name into his eternal freedom and peace.